Namaskar. Honorable Minister for Art and Culture, Government Gofa, Sri Govind Gaudi. Honorable Vice Chancellor of Goa University of Professor Varun Sani. Respected Sri Ghulam Muhammad Sheikh, Sri R. Shivakumar, my friend Ms. Vidya Shvedas, all my friends and students. I represent an organization called Kochi Biennale Foundation. I'm an artist and curator. I thought it would be good to talk about here about our educational program. There is no chronology when I think about it. I have put together a paper, but that is very short. I have 10 minutes. Last 8 years was quite crazy and quite inventive and challenging, beautifully challenging. In 2010, then Culture Minister of Kerala and also Education Minister, Mr. Baby, Miriam Alexander Baby, met with me in Mumbai. One evening, that evening changed my life and many of my friends' life through art making. 2010 May 30th night, the Minister of Kerala asked me, what's the best thing you can offer to Kerala as artists? So that meeting, I had called some successful Malayali artists like Jyoti Basu, Riaz Komu, and TV Sandosh and others. So his question was it sounds very simple. What's the best thing you can offer to Kerala? But we felt, when we look at it, it was a very heavyweight question. Finally, after many thought, we suggested a biennial would be the right thing to do. Of course, we have the history of Trinale in India. The first Trinale was opened in Delhi in 1968 when Nehru was our Prime Minister. Dr. Mulk Raj Anand and other friends opened in 1968. While we were students in JJ School of Art in Mumbai, we were looking for contemporary art. We were looking for books, magazines, and things like that. We never had that kind of great opportunity to find a great library or books or original artworks while we were studying. This was the only opportunity visiting Delhi. I was fortunate enough to see a couple of Trinale, and then it shut down I think in 2005 or something like that. Many artists, many thinkers, like-minded people like Vivan Sundaram and others tried to start a biennial in Delhi. But unfortunately, the state never supported, so it failed to sustain, failed to survive, or the dreams of many artists and creative people died off. Coming back to Kochi, in 2012, we opened the first edition of the Biennale. And it started with the 90 days of thinking. In 90 days it is open to the public for 90 days. And the end of these days, many people come up and said, why don't you extend it for a few more days? And then we extended the first Biennale. Maybe in the history of Biennales, that may be the first Biennale extended for 4 more days, and then 94 days. We have had more than 400,000 people visited from local, regional, national, and international scene. Who is who from the art world? Everyone visited, and we took off. Meanwhile, my colleague Riaz Komu, and he was the program director, and started discussing about how we can bring more educational aspects into the Biennale site. We started a program called Children's Biennale. I'm not taking much time, and then it was in 2014. And then for students, what's the best we can do it? We thought a parallel biennial for the students. And Vidya Shavdas was from the beginning, was really closely working with Riaz and other colleagues of mine. And we conceptualized a students' biennial. And 15 young curators we have given opportunity to research on contemporary Indian institutions and art institutions. And, we put together in 5 venues, we had more than 200 students visited. And what is great about it is, I think, they get an opportunity to see the main biennial at the same time when they're having their own project. And the same thing happened in 2016. We realized we had more than 469 students visited, and then 15 young curators given opportunity to young curators, 15 young curators. So the result is actually we have given them some awards in travel scholarships, etc., through the help of Tata Trust and HCL and other people, many like-minded organizations and people. We realized it is important that, like the consistency. For example, in 2016 edition, we felt from that we learned that, we should have some experienced people to put together this biennial, Students' Biennale. So one of our friends, Sanjay Ghosh, is also here. He's one of the curators for there are 6 curators we appointed, and we have suggested for 80 projects, but turned out to be with the SAARC country participation. This year also we included SAARC country participation, and we had 109 projects. And what we realized that, like when you fund projects, when you give patronage in some ways, the foundation funded, I think, all these projects, and you could see the scale of thinking, scale of practice done by these artists. And it is mostly collaborative projects with, they have also with their conceptualized curatorial, workshops in different institutions all over India and all that kind of stuff. Anyway, we feel now we have a place, a temporary museum, or I like the fact of temporality in the biennial. And more than 600,000 people visited the last edition of the biennial. This Biennale is running right now, the 4th edition of the main biennial, curated by Anita Dubey, and the Students' Biennale is also parallelly running. I would like to take this opportunity to welcome all of you to see whomsoever not visited. Most of our friends were there. I'll just read out what I feel that, from what I learned from all these experiences. It's very short. Another learning from the Students' Biennale and our young residency programs in that colleges are connect students to the wider art world ecosystem. I think an elementary layer of familiarization with both in the landscape and its practices will be very useful for young artists. Simple exercises like how to prepare a portfolio, write a proposal will enable students to access opportunities that will otherwise remain distant from them. Why I realized this, most of the, when I was studying, like nobody taught us art world, how it, what kind of, it's kind of very, many ways it is connected to many institutions, galleries. Students of our generation didn't know that time how to approach a museum, how to approach an artist or a studio visit, etc. Or how to propose for a biennale or a trinale or something or the other, or residency program, for example. Art colleges should also open up their degree shows to the general public. Some of the schools already doing it. Anyways, the shows must be conceived so that it welcome people from the locally to visit the exhibition and engage with the artists. Once peer, I think it's all this is all cut off, so I don't know what some part is missing. But students should also acquire the confidence to exhibit and be in conversation with the larger audience. One of our learning with the students Biennale is that about the variations in conditions of art schools in India have massive, some of them have massive infrastructure, classrooms, workshop spaces, libraries, but limited faculty. Others have excess of who manage with the minimum resources. Some colleges will have strong resources and faculty is specific or weak in others. In other students' biennial workshops, we have attempted to bring together the students and geographically proximate institutions so that the students of one college can benefit from what is available in the other, such as exchange and reciprocity between colleges could be activated at a larger scale. Besides teaching techniques and materials or process and history, art colleges should also create spaces where students learn, read, and talk about other subjects. Of course, with young people, such spaces will also naturally emerge. Institutions should have it on their agenda to promote and actively set up such spaces. In spite of what we think is a sufficient of information available today, it's almost like a dictatorship of images and things like that. In my visit to art colleges, I find that many still don't have sufficient exposure to knowledge repositories on the internet or journals and magazines. This information should be first made available to students. Of course, a significant element in teaching today is that at the other extreme end of what I just mentioned, so much information that a student is likely to get lost today. One of the tasks of the teacher is to make sensitize bigness of information, to give students the tools to sort and filter information. In addition, the presence of the teacher is important to ensure that she is not simply a compiler or a syllable teacher. Should enable conversations, not just between herself and student, but also between student and students and the world outside. The available information that I mentioned earlier comes to make sense against the background of this role of the teacher. Another element art schools in India have been unable to provide to students enough is the opportunity artists in colleges today are able to see little art. especially if you are outside the big cities. Young artists should be able to travel to different places, especially to visit museums, art residencies, biennales, and galleries, etc. The file include in the syllabi, and museums and other such institutions should take a proactive role in facilitating visual schools. I believe that as mentioned, this year's students Biennale, making us thinking. We titled Sanjay and Ghosh and other friends, and Vidya and Riaz Komu, all of them thought to title it as Making Us Thinking. It is very important to have patronage for students. How do we facilitate opportunities? I have seen many students are coming from around the world to see the Biennale. And they have, for example, students from Montpellier, France, they spend 1 month in Kochi, 15 days before the opening of the Biennale and 15 days during the time of the Biennale. And they also done a project, and students from Art Institute of Chicago and other places. I would request our Chancellor and the government should, especially, I love the state, Goa. I would say that, it would be great that, your students, they, for an example, I would say that Lalit Kala Academy of Punjab sent they have given some scholarship to visit Kochi Muslims Biennale. It's a 108-day long project, continuously without any stop. So I think it is important that students get an opportunity to see original contemporary art practices, to see original work as well as the thinking, and also workshops. So many workshops are happening, and also we are organizing educational symposium conference on 21st and 22nd of March. So you are all welcome. I'm not taking much more time. Thank you so much, and we can have conversations later. Thank you so much for inviting me to be here, FIAE and Goa University. Thank you so much.